Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dynasty Six Pack. Here for episode 11. We're still going to talk about rookies, but a little twist. We're going to talk about rookies in our overall Dynasty rankings. So sit tight for another great episode of Dynasty Six Pack. So, Dynasty Six Pack, I'm one of your co-hosts, Kyle Senra, and the reason I say great episodes is because I'm joined by two great co-hosts. First, we have Rahul Natarajan. How you doing, Rahul?
Kyle, I'm doing good. Jamie, great to see both of you. Yet again, I am super excited for an episode of ours. Great to make it at 11. We've had 10 episodes just about rookies, so trying to mix a couple more names in. But yeah, doing well and really excited to get into tonight.
Technically, the first two episodes were more about, you missed the two episodes where we talked about free agency, but yeah. You've
true.
mostly just been here for rookie season, because even in those first couple episodes, we still did manage to talk about some rookies, but yeah, Rahul already spoiled. Everyone should already know the other co-host, Jamie Perog. How you doing, Jamie?
I'm doing great. I just want to explain my background. So Donkey Kong Jr., man, he grew up in the shadows of a true legend, right? So meanwhile, you got Donkey Kong Jr. He didn't really get to ease into anything. Like he grew up in the shadows of a true legend, like a full-on arcade legend. So instead of like a smooth childhood, he had to jump like from traps and ropes and dodge crocodiles and rescue his dad from the sneaky plumber Mario. So imagine being a kid and your first job is rescuing the GOAT. It's like a rookie quarterback like being thrown in to replace like a Tom Brady week one. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about rookies today and throwing them in to that.
Whether we like them or not.
Yeah, right? we have to put them somewhere in these vets.
Whether we like him or not, just like whether the people in the comments like us or not. Apparently, this guy, Jamie, in the comment doesn't like the guy at the bottom.
Yeah, what's up with that, man? Get out of the chat.
What's up with Jamie saying, what's up with Jamie? Okay, we're going too far. But yes, before we get too much further, just want to say, check out the Fantasy Six Pack. I guess Fantasy Six Pack everything. We've got a Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel with tons of great videos. Be sure to subscribe there. You might catch us live here, for instance, and be like this Jamie guy and comment in the chat. And for actual viewers and watchers, we will go into detail answering your questions. We also have fantasy6pack.com. So check out the website there. Also a Fantasy Six Pack Discord as well. Different tiered memberships. So yeah, great access to everything there. So whether you're listening to us on podcast form or on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. If it's Facebook, you can also comment live and interact with us here. So whether you have questions, comments about the things we're talking about, where we're going to be placing these rookies in our rankings, yeah, feel free to chime in. Did I miss anything? Was that the whole spiel?
I think we're ready to go.
All right. So first pick in the NFL draft was a quarterback. And so, yeah, we're going to start off talking about quarterbacks. And that number one overall pick was Cam Ward. So who wants to start first? Who wants to take the first throw here, like Cam Ward will? I guess Rahul does. Not surprised, considering how high Rahul was considering Cam Ward before the draft. So, yeah, I was really curious to find out. Rahul, where do you have Cam Ward ranked among quarterbacks in Dynasty?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not just eager about Cam Ward, but eager to set the record straight on this podcast. I felt the last few episodes have started with a slant away from Cam Ward. I won't be naming any names at this point, but it's not me for sure. But Cam Ward,
some other ones, so
it's yeah, could only be someone that the chat had already mentioned to get out of here. But anyway, long story short, Cam Ward, I do have him. I just checked quarterback 14, my overall rankings, kind of in a, I would say maybe really the fourth or fifth tier. I have him like a third to fourth round startup pick value. You know, some quarterbacks around him are Brock Purdy, JJ McCarthy, Trevor Lawrence. Right below that tier would be like Baker Mayfield, Penix, Young. I don't know if I'm jumping too far ahead. This is the first of the first segments, but
I mean, that's part of what I wanted to talk about, like where they were, and I was going to bring up like players around. So yeah, no, it's great.
yeah, and
14 is pretty aggressive, but I guess not
14,
totally surprising
yeah.
knowing you.
It is pretty aggressive, and like we've been saying, we've been talking about rookies for a month and a half now. I am higher on Cam Ward. I do think he is a strong prospect with like top 10 quarterback in the NFL potential. There are some flaws to work out. In Titans, I might be a little higher on the situation than a couple others. Like, he does love to play hero ball. His throwing motion might look fun, but will it work in the NFL? We'll have to see. I do think there's a little more rushing upside than what he showed in college. I am high on Cam Ward, and I think I'd be pretty comfortable taking him, in that range with like looking cross positionally, like a couple of other like cornerstone assets. I think we've been saying, at least two of us have been saying, that 2 to 5 range in rookie drafts is a pretty flat tier, depending on what kind of position you need, or your scoring settings, your roster settings. But I think Ward is firmly in that tier, and I do think he's going to be a cornerstone dynasty asset. Just the way Superflex goes.
Well, that makes sense. Now I do wonder with this again. Apparently, fake Jamie trying to kick out real Jamie. Could this be a Cam Ward burner account? Try to douse off the hate on Jamie. I guess maybe to keep it interesting, Jamie, I'm going to interject and I'm going to say my ranking. I'm going to see like if you still think that's too high, because I have him at QB 21. But it is interesting, Rahul, because I love that you brought up some of the names around him, and I thought it was interesting. I think we're going to be pretty closely ranked on Michael Penix.
Mm-hmm.
I have Cam Ward 1 spot ahead of Penix and 2 spots ahead of JJ McCarthy. So McCarthy's my QB 23. So I think, I like that range for those three kind of together. I guess so do you. Our range has changed relative to others simply because between the three of those guys, I think we have 3 combined starts. So we really don't know much about. We have a little bit on Penix. I think as prospects, I think Ward is a better prospect than Penix or McCarthy, which is why I'm already putting him ahead of those guys. Although you had McCarthy higher, so is that just simply the landing spot? Vikings getting to throw to Justin Jefferson?
It definitely is. I mean, it's hard to say where Ward 2025 Cam Ward would have ranked in the 2024 draft. Obviously, he could have come out in 2024 and he could have been like a day 2, day 3 guy, but 2025 Cam Ward might still have gone behind JJ McCarthy, the prospect. But then, when you bake in the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Hawkinson, and the Kevin O'Connell effect, I definitely am betting big on JJ McCarthy. So, not to prolong this first point, but I'm just curious where he would fall in your overall rankings, because QB 21, then I'm just starting to count like how many players could be ahead of him for you then.
So I do have the overall ranking set, but maybe it's not as developed as I'd like it to be. Right now, I've got Cam Ward at player 48 overall.
Okay.
We'll say, looking at these super flex, maybe I do need to push some of these quarterbacks up a little higher.
But then it sounds like we're in line with his overall ranking. Maybe there are some QBs that you're a little just rather get on your team, because that does sound pretty reasonable to me.
I do have a tier of like Prescott, Goff, Baker that are all kind of ahead of some of these younger quarterbacks and like the push the win now quarterbacks. I mean, Dak's been a top 5 quarterback so many times in his career. Even with his advanced age relative to the rest of this group, still have a hard time dropping him below guys like Caleb Williams and Lawrence and Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young is a really good comparison to Cam Ward, but just the extra experience on Young, he's kind of the cut off of that top 20, and then that's where I felt okay. Now we'll take the unknown upside shots as a guy like Cam Ward. But Jamie,
that's fair.
Is QB 21 still too high for you as the apparently Cam Ward hitter? Is it me? Do you actually have him higher than me?
No, I actually don't mind that 21 range. So Rahul, you said you had him at what, 14?
14, yeah.
14. So I have Trevor Lawrence at 14. I can't put Cam Ward over him.
He's 15. 15 for me.
Then I got like Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, like the proven guys, right?
Yeah.
And like the Michael Penix, then this is where it kind of gets tricky. Like Justin Fields, he's got that upside, so I had to put him there. Then the Bryce Young. Then this is where it gets tricky. This is where I have like the Jackson Dart, Cam Ward area.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny when you mentioned Bryce Young because Ward and Young had almost identical QB scores in my prospect scores, like to the point where like every other quarterback I go to the 10th, I actually had to go to the 100th, like point, like two decimal points after, or two numbers after the decimal point to distinguish them because they were that close. I didn't have to do that with any other quarterback. So I think Bryce Young is a great comparison for you. I mean, they're both first overall picks. Young we've certainly seen his lows, but he rebounded nicely to end the year last year. I think without that finish to the season, I think we'd all probably be a lot lower on Bryce Young too. So
and I couldn't
him hit those depths, but actually be able to rebound, which is not always the case for quarterbacks. So I think that's a positive. But I think we all had Lawrence ahead of Ward. JD, so you're saying you have Michael Penix ahead of Ward?
Yeah, and I can't put Cam Ward ahead of JJ McCarthy only because we've seen Sam Darnold be a stud in that Vikings offense. So I am automatically putting JJ McCarthy.
It's funny how I've been saying that as like an anti-Sam Darnold argument, but maybe I haven't. But it hasn't like QB 22 for McCarthy, which I'm sure is way below consensus. So
I would put Ward at
on the
that.
Penix one because I know Rahul and I both had Ward still ahead of Penix. So what about Penix makes you want to have him?
Just the offense that he's in, the weapons that he has compared to Ward. He's got a strong arm.
I don't know. Chigakonkwo to Kyle Pitts pretty close to tight end, but yeah.
Well, I'm talking like London, like the running back situation.
Running backs. I mean, Ridley's no scrub, but yeah, I think at this point you'd rather have Big London for sure.
Exactly. Yep.
I guess if I could,
I would put Cam Ward in that like anywhere between a 20 to 24. I wouldn't argue. So I have him at the lower end.
Yeah. I guess if I could, I honestly hear what you guys are saying, and it sounds like the big discrepancy for me is like that tier of like Dak, Mayfield, and Dak, Mayfield, and Goff primarily like fall behind Ward for me, and maybe I am discounting Dak and Mayfield. All of them. Even Goff has like a top 5 PPG scoring season in them, but what makes me it's two things. One, it makes me a little hesitant when those QBs that don't have that rushing upside, it becomes like a game of like them having an abnormal pass touchdown season. Otherwise, they're just going to be in this giant mix of QBs that are like all within like 2 points per game of each other. Of course, if you're playing 6-point passing touchdown, that's a little bit different. But they're going to be just like in the mix, right? It's like replacement level at a certain point. The second point, for Ward, why I do want to like take that gamble and rank him a little highly, same thing with JJ McCarthy, really, is just with these young quarterbacks, the chance for them to rise into the like even dare I say first round of startup picks is much higher. Like the movement you're not going to get from Mayfield, Dak, and Dynasty value is not going to be wild swings, but Ward, just take a look at CJ Stroud, Jaden Daniels. Now, Daniels has the rush upside, but CJ Stroud propelled his way to the #1 dynasty asset this time. Last year, right? #1 dynasty asset. And who's to say that Cam Ward, Nico Collins was unproven. Tank Dell was a 3rd-round rookie that we didn't really like as a prospect. Who's to say that Calvin Ridley and some of the 4 wide receivers they seem to have drafted can't be elevated, and Ward is propelled to almost a first-round starter pick value. So I'm comfortable in being aggressive on him because the value gain I think can be huge to where if he kind of has a slow year 1, it's excusable enough to where he's not going to fall past QB 24, right? Where you guys already seem to have him. So I just wanted to explain why it sounded a little more aggressive. And yeah, those are some proven quarterbacks that I am ranking a little lower. So I just want to address that.
Right. Because right now I see it, there's 23 quarterbacks that are either like established franchise quarterbacks or they're young quarterbacks that were early first rounders. And, I mean, in some cases that's both, right? Like some of these young established quarterbacks are productive quarterbacks were former first rounders. I mean, you've got Dak in there that's really the outlier, but almost every quarterback I've got in that top 23 is a first rounder. Then to me, it's where it gets interesting. And that's why Man, I love Justin Fields, but apparently we found the true Justin Fields truther in Jamie. Having him
I
the top 20.
I just saw Justin Bruni from Fanspeak trade 2 first-round picks for Justin Fields because he believes in his future, not just with the Jets, but beyond that.
All right, love to see it.
That's a lot for me, but I mean, if I see
sure,
him doing it, I got to consider it.
Now I got to think I go and trade 2 Fields for 2 firsts right now. Now I want to go on the see on the opposite ends of that. But to me, Jamie, you've already mentioned kind of the next quarterback, Jackson Dart. Maybe it's a good time to transition. I've got him at QB 24, which is right behind Fields and Darnold, who I think are, unlike the guys ahead of him, aren't necessarily locked in long term, but the fantasy points that they could potentially score, especially Fields, might make that worth it going for them as opposed to anyone else, really. And that, to me, includes Jackson Dart, who, unlike all the other guys, including Cam Ward, he was taken outside the top 20. Well, I guess Lamar Jackson was too. And again, so is Dak Prescott. But I guess Jordan Love. So there's a couple, but there aren't many. Like, I'm looking at most of my list, and it's several first overall quarterbacks, but certainly a lot of top 10 picks. So to me, I think Dart, with his upside, kind of belongs to me in a similar range as Fields and Darnold. Maybe even should be ahead of Darnold, if I'm so anti-Darnold. But yeah, QB 26 for me. Jamie, where exactly, Jeff? QB 23, you said?
Yeah, around that area, 23. If I knew he was going to start right away, I would put him up at that QB 15, 16 range because he does have that upside to be a top 5 quarterback on a weekly basis. Not Cam Ward. Cam Ward doesn't. Cam Ward would have to throw 3 touchdowns a game, like 300 yards, just to get into the top 5. But Dart, with his legs and the weapons that he has around him with Malik Neighbors, I think he could shoot up into that like Bo Nix area in that top 10 once we know that he is going to be an actual starter. But right now, I do put him a little bit lower, and that's the only reason.
Well, it's funny because the guy I have right after Jackson Dart is Anthony Richardson, and to me, like, that's
same.
It's the same. Everything you just said about Dart, you can like copy paste that for Richardson. Now, because we've seen Richardson actualize this upside on a week-to-week basis, I think we have a lot less long-term faith in Richardson maybe than Jackson Dart. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%.
So, and I mean, that's how I'm feeling right now. To again have Dart 1 spot ahead of Richardson, in spite of the tremendous upside that Richardson possesses. So,
I mean, Dart's just as good as a runner. He's a better thrower. So you would have to put Dart above Richardson. And Richardson's been in the year for 2 years, and what has he really showed?
Again, I've made this point a lot, but I feel like you really do have to divide rushing into like 2 different components. As a touchdown producing runner, I don't think so. I mean, Richardson to me is as good as Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts in that.
Yeah.
But I think Dart might be a faster open field runner, better to get more points. So the one thing I'll maybe push back on, Jamie, is I don't know that Dart is truly like top 5 upside week in, week out. I think he's got good, safe top 12 upside if he starts. Like, he'll be a QB1 pretty regularly because of the rushing floor more than the rushing upside. So I view Dart kind of closer to Daniel Jones with the Giants, right? Like,
that's fair.
He'll produce a lot of rushing yards. I think that's maybe where he'll make it a safe floor.
And just like Daniel Jones, he can give you a top 5 week, but he can also give you a top 20.
I mean, Mac Jones can give you a top 5 week, right? Any quarterback can do it. But it's the Hurts, Allen, Richardson types that do it more regularly. But we've also saw last year with Richardson, if he's not scoring multiple rushing touchdowns, he's struggling to even finish as a top 20 quarterback. So that's where the floor comes into play. And that's why I think Dart, in spite of like where he's drafted later in the first round, you might think long-term floor might not be as safe as a guy like Cam Ward. His weekly floor might be better because of that rushing yards potential. So, Rahul, where do you have Jackson Dart ranked? Assuming you still have him as QB2, right?
Yeah, it's definitely in this class, and actually, QB 23 as well. I think, as alongside JV's QB 23, but I think just he's kind of close in that tier. Richardson and Fields are both behind him. Some vets, Tua and Darnold, I think, are just behind or Tua, I don't know. It's a little bit of a hard one to say. I kind of echo everything you guys have said, and yeah, just the only other thing I'd layer is Brian Daboll seems to want to work with this kind of mobile quarterback that he can call, a lot of designed runs, QB power. I do think he's going to accumulate a lot of points that way. The open field rushing is a great point because even if you break down Jaden Daniels' stats, Lamar to a certain extent, but a lot of it was accumulation of rushing yards and not necessarily, not getting it in for the 1 yard line. So I do think Dart has a lot of upside, and yeah, with Malik Neighbors there, it just you get a little bit more confident in the passing floor, or we're probably just drafting Malik Neighbors way too highly in redraft and best ball and such. But yeah, I feel pretty comfortable about Dart into the ranges that you guys talked about.
I've just started to do my work for the projections for my target share, and man, I don't know, maybe we're too low on Malik Neighbors, honestly.
I got him
I think undoubtedly, no matter,
I can't raise Malik Neighbors up anymore.
I'm maybe starting to think. I don't think it's awful. Like we talked about top 3 tier, I'm kind of wondering if maybe Neighbors should be higher, just because even if Dart starts, it's probably a QB upgrade on what he had last year. But undoubtedly, whether it's Wilson or Winston, I think you're going to get better quality quarterback play than what you had last year from Neighbors. So imagine with better QB play where he could go. But I mean, and if Dart is a long-term answer, that also gives long-term stability to Neighbors to a certain extent too. So I think I had him at 5 or 6, and I've raised him up to 4 right now. But I am very tempted to eventually move him up ahead of CD Lamb. But yeah, it's which I know you look at a place like Keep Trade Cut. I think that change has already been made. Like that,
yeah,
Neighbors is priced there already. Certainly, I think being tied to Dart long term, I think helps. Like because the thing with Lamb right now is tied to Dak. We think anyway. Chase, of course, has Burrow. Jefferson has McCarthy, which maybe is that really that much better of a bet than Dart? So I don't know. It's we'll see. I guess the next set of quarterbacks, I've got these guys ranked in the same tier, even though Tyler Chuck was the first one drafted. I don't know if you both agree with me. I think that Milroe is still ahead of Shuck in Dynasty rankings.
Yeah, I agree.
I have them back to back.
Yeah, but back to back. Yeah,
it depends if you're a win now or a rebuild. That's the situation. You have to go.
You see, I don't know that Shuck, even if he starts games, is going to produce that well. If you're a win now team, I think I'd rather just take Milroe.
Wow. So you're out on Shuck? Like
I'm not out on Shuck, but
you don't like his size and his athleticism, his ability to throw at different arm angles and just whip the ball down the field and front flip into the end zone for rushing touchdowns.
Are we? How athletic is he going to be after all those surgeries? Like that's actually a concern. Is that he might be? Jamie, I think he's what you're fearing of Shedeur Sanders. Like there's just no upside, right? Like he might start games at quarterback, but I'm really concerned on what that offense is really going to allow him to produce. Olave and Kamara are pretty great, but
it's a short-term answer. That's what I'm saying. It's not going to be long-term. So when
I don't even know how good of an answer that is in the short term. I think I'd rather just bank on if I'm picking Milroe every time, just because even if I don't get starts right away, I feel like once I do get starts, it's the upside call. It's like to me, Milroe's kind of like Jackson Dart. I was in the first round capital, which separates them enough. But the real question is, where do we have them in Dynasty? I have Milroe at 30 and Tyler Shuck at 32 in my team.
Okay, well, I have Shuck at 30 and Milroe at 31.
I have 30 and 31, but Milroe ahead. So
that's that range, right? Like because I think we like the upside again of Anthony Richardson in spite of all the risk.
Yeah.
He's a top 5 pick. So I still again rather bank on that. But yeah.
For example, today I was in a single quarterback draft. I was in the 3rd round, and Milroe and Shuck were on the board. I have crap at quarterbacks. I have Wilson and Darnold and someone else. I think Rattler's even in my taxi squad. In a single quarterback league, I went Milroe because I like the upside of him.
Yeah, the one quarterback.
In a single quarterback league. If it was if I was in that situation and I needed a quarterback now, that's when I would go Shuck. So I do have him back to back.
You said middle of the 2nd round?
No, third round.
Oh, third round. Yeah, okay. That's the spot they should go then.
Yeah, it was like 307, 309,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so okay, that was a pretty easy discussion. They're all basically outside the top 30 or right at 30 for those two.
Yeah.
Because to me that's the range we're getting. Like you mentioned, Russell Wilson. He's the guy I have right between Milroe and Chuck.
Oh, I have him
I'm just
right
thinking-
behind. Yeah, same.
I mean,
Yeah.
if Wilson and Chuck both start this year, I feel like Wilson's going to outscore him like crazy. So
Yeah.
it's if we're talking about Chuck as a 1-year starter, I'd rather bank on Russell Wilson. He's going to have Malik Neighbors to throw to.
I mean, there's a
Seen him
10-year
have
age gap.
fantasy success in the past, despite
Yeah.
how awkward we think he is now. The guys right behind Chuck to me are Daniel Jones, Joe Flacco. I have Mason Rudolph at QB 35 because might be
Helmet boy.
Pittsburgh starter.
Mm-mm.
Should I? I mean, I guess that brings us to the next guy on my list is Will Howard, who I have a QB 40. Like, I don't know if I should flip those two. Like, do you guys how do you guys read that situation? Do you think Will Howard's more likely to get starts than Rudolph? Because my first lean right now is Rudolph's more likely to be the week 1 starter.
Yes.
As a 6th rounder, Howard, they probably don't want to rush him out there.
No.
So that's why I have Rudolph. Because, yeah, that's why I have it that way. But,
So I have Rudolph way down at QB 52. Will Howard's at 40. Both of them aren't even going to start this year because they're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers.
and if that happens, I will totally drop Rudolph probably down to the 50s in my rankings. But as it stands today, he is slated to be a starter. So the league I have Rudolph and I'm trying to sell him for 2nd-round picks just in case anyone else believes that. Yeah.
Yikes.
No one else believes
I
that.
wouldn't even give you I wouldn't give you an 8th-round pick for Helmet Boy.
I mean, if he starts, here's the thing: if he starts one game and someone needs a quarterback, he's at least worth a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
But right now, he's not just a spot starter. He is again the starter for the season for week 1. To me, that should be worth more than 3rd. But again, no one else believes that, so that doesn't really matter what I think. If I can't sell it for that, then he's going to be on my team anyway.
Yeah. No. Will Howard can easily beat out
Sure.
Mason Rudolph, 100%.
So I have Howard at 40. Where did you say you had him, Jamie? You said you had him at
I have him at 40.
40, and Rahul.
I honestly, guys, like I said, I adjusted these rankings. He didn't make the cut.
You said right. You only did top 120. So at this point, yeah, 6th-round quarterback probably shouldn't enter your top 120 overall players. That's
Yeah. I am curious if we don't mind going back to Dart. I am curious again for overall rankings or like where in startup range would you target Jackson Dart for example. He's and we've done a lot of rookie draft pick talk, so maybe this isn't surprising. It's a pretty large tier even in the rookies, but even with vets, I could see taking him anywhere like in the 6th or 7th round of startup draft. So like just outside like my top 60 is where I have Dart.
Well, I have him around this. I would say 70.
Right now he's listed at 76 for me in my Superflex rankings.
Yeah, I have honestly a tier of 17 players between pick 70 and 76, so it's a pretty big one. But yeah, it sounds like we're aligned there too.
So I guess if you're in that 6th, 7th round, 5th, 6th, 7th round, trade back if you can, acquire any future seconds you can to just move down picks and take guys you probably would have taken anyway. Yeah, I guess that flat range for sure. There's certainly ranges in drafts where it makes sense to trade down in a startup.
Yeah.
So, is there any other quarterbacks that we need to talk about? Because I know there's one guy.
Well, here's the thing. Like I've got several rookies still listed. Like I've got probably right down to QB 10 in this rookie class inside my top 75. So I could talk about all of them. But who do you want to talk about, Jamie?
Well, obviously the next guy off the boards is Shedeur Sanders.
I mean, I have Dylan Gabriel one spot ahead of Shedeur Sanders.
Okay, so
QB 65 and QB 66. I actually have all 4 Browns quarterbacks back to back. Gabriel 65, Sanders 66, Pickett 67, Deshaun Watson 68.
Oh,
Flacco way ahead of all of them because I expect Flacco's going to start most of the season.
Yeah, well,
that's why he's at like QB 34 for me.
Flacco at 35, Sanders 34, only because of the age difference. I do think Flacco's going to start, but he is again over 40 years old, and I do think he also is going to start. But Sanders outside my top 32, just because I can't believe in this guy. I drafted him today for the first time ever in that single quarterback league at the 409, just because I needed a
Why even bother?
Like,
I mean, yeah, I've got him at QB 66. Like to me, there's a shot he never really gets. Like,
wait, QB
he gets
66?
a spot start once in a while through his career, but like as a 5th round pick, like he's guaranteed nothing. Like there's even this year.
Sanders was a 4th round pick.
Fifth.
They moved up to get him, but
no, he's a 5th round pick.
Did they give up a 4th next year or something?
He was the beginning of the 5th. Yeah, you're right. All right, so
which doesn't really matter. A 4th round pick or a 5th round pick, I'm not really banking on that player. Right? That's why I've got all these guys outside the top 60. The rest of the QBs, like Will Howard, maybe has a chance to start this year. I can see the path. I guess the problem with Sanders and Gabriel is that they both are there. Like who really is going to be the guy? Because I'd be a lot higher on Dylan Gabriel if Sanders wasn't there, and to a certain extent the same with Sanders. But I mean, I had a better prospect score on Gabriel. He was like 2 rounds earlier than Sanders, so I know there's more hype on Sanders, but I can't think of a good reason to have Sanders ahead of Dylan
Gabriel. Same.
The hype, the ADV
name brand, exactly. The ADV of it. Like
if you're trying to draft him to sell him for a profit, he's probably easier to sell than Gabriel. I guess my point is like, what if he like doesn't get a start this year, and next year the Browns just draft another quarterback in the 1st round, and these guys are all buried, and they have their actual franchise QB next year. Like that's a big risk, and that's why
I have Will Howard above Dylan Gabriel.
Me too. Yeah. Again, the chance, what the situation is in Pittsburgh, because that doesn't seem like a team that necessarily will be bad enough to take a franchise QB. Like Jamie, as a Browns fan, I think you're expecting the Browns to compete for the number 1 overall pick again, like finish second, like the 2nd overall pick, like they did this year, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
If that is the case next year, and there's a really good QB there, are you telling me?
I mean, there's going to be five QBs that could have went 101 above Cam Ward coming out next year.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've got Riley Leonard, Curtis Rourke, Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord ranked QB 70 through 73. Yeah. Other than
he's frozen. But yeah, all those guys, I just don't see the Kyle McCords, the Quentin Ewers. I don't see them being fantasy relevant. So they're way outside. Like they're around that like Spencer Rattler types and Mason Rudolphs.
See, I guess I've got Rattler and Rudolph a couple tiers ahead of those guys just because there's chances they start this year, like decent chances. So I'm willing to maybe spend a little more on those two in particular.
I suppose if there's one, like I said, I didn't rank any of these guys, and I have to even look this up. Kyle McCord went to the Eagles. Jalen Hurts does get banged up every season. He usually plays through it, but if I'm going to take a shot on any of these guys, it would be for a spot start on the best offense I could find. So Kyle McCord would make sense in that kind of criteria.
And I guess because I was thinking Riley Leonard because of his upside, but he's got to beat out Richardson and Daniel Jones to get there, right? Like you need 2 things to go right. Like Curtis Rourke, he's got Purdy and Mac Jones ahead of him. I suppose with Quentin Ewers, like the only thing staying his way from me in the backup is Zach Wilson. You could say the same thing about McCord. It's even more extreme because I think it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So your point, Rahul, he doesn't have much in his way to be that backup QB.
Yeah.
A lot of these other guys.
So I think we spent way too much time on these quarterbacks. And I think we should shift the focus onto the receivers and running backs. Honestly,
the first running back question I actually wanted to ask, because here's the thing: we actually kind of addressed where Jeanty would be before this. If we go back to episode 2, we talked about our top 2 tiers in Dynasty. We were already talking about Jeanty there as a top 5 running back locked in. So I think all of us might have him at RB3 right now. I think the real question with Jeanty, should he be a 1st round startup pick in Superflex? I think in 1 QB it's going to be a given he's a 1st round.
Yeah.
Superflex? Are you guys going that extreme yet?
Not for me. Not for me. I have it. Yeah. Go ahead, Jamie.
I don't build around running backs and startups. Yeah. I usually go with those younger, high upside, elite wide receivers or quarterback. I sometimes don't even take a running back until the 6th, 7th round in startups.
I think the one spot you are in a startup where you might is those last 3 picks of the first round, 10, 11, 12. That's where, I mean, I've got Bijan ranked as the 110 and
I
the
could
112.
I could
So
see that.
I also agree that Jeanty isn't quite there, but at least at that point of the first round, you can kind of control, especially at 112. You can take that running back there and then still get that young established piece.
If you want to
if Jeanty's there, though, I still don't think I'm taking that shot on Jeanty. Like, that to me is reserved for Bijan and Gibbs for now. So
well, if you want to pump quarterback and go neighbors and like pick between Jeanty and Bijan, I don't hate it.
Oh, I mean, right now I'd take neighbors over any running back as well. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take neighbors over Bijan.
Yeah. Maybe I play exclusively half PPR, so that one gets a little bit interesting. But what y'all have said about Jeanty, I do completely agree. And it's just like not the way I prefer to build. I think we're also in a bit of a maybe interesting dynasty offseason where some quarterbacks that we probably would have felt locked in, you're going to put them in your starting lineup for the next like half decade. I'm talking about like Stroud and Herbert, Caleb, the prospect. May has moved up. We're kind of in a year where I feel like those quarterbacks are going to be available at the picks that Jeanty are going to be available. So I'd almost choose every other position there over the running back, even if he in an established league. If you're trying to trade for Jeanty, you probably have to send, that caliber of quarterback or Amon-Ra, BTJ, or the wide receivers that I have around side, and Brock Bowers in not like a non-tight end premium probably, but startup league existing, very different things,
Well, I almost wonder if it's the cheapest and best way to get Jeanty is still in rookie draft. If you can somehow trade for the 101, that's probably still cheaper than what it's going to cost. Like the price of investment in a startup, again, potentially having to take him in the first round.
I mean, people just do crazy things in startups too. Like they'll, to move from like the end of the second to the top of the second, they'll give away like future first. You'll probably like net like a mid-round startup pick. Like people will do some crazy things in startup. And that's all that people like. You've definitely been in way more startups than I have, but people always say just trade back, accumulate capital. So that's why an exercise like this is so useful for us and for people listening.
The other Jamie is now calling the now missing Jamie sexy. So I can't tell if he hates him or loves him, but
something suspicious going on.
I'm very confused. Has anyone seen comment Jamie and video Jamie in the same room at the same time?
Where's Jamie?
But yes, is Jamie the new Waldo? There he is. We found him. No red stripes. So I guess I think we've exercised Jeanty enough. We've talked about him so much on various different episodes. Is Amari Hampton, is it too crazy to go RB5?
That's where I have him. That's where I have him.
Damn, I have him at 4.
So I'm guessing Rahul is at Achan. Is that the guy you have?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
I moved Achan down. No, it's not that I moved him down. I just moved Hampton above.
I love the first round capital, but I think what we've seen from Achan so far, there's no guarantee Hampton's ever even that, despite him being a first rounder. So I would still bank on what we've seen from Achan. He's still on his rookie contract. I think he's part of this like next elite tier. So that's a little too far, but here is the difficult one. And someone sent me an offer in a league. They've got Barkley and they have the 102. And they sent me Barkley for the 110, my 26 first, as well as 2 seconds this year, 209 and 210. I countered back and said, I'll do that, but for the 102 instead of Barkley.
Yeah.
Because am I crazy for giving it like the guy who was the RB1 last year? And my team is pretty competitive, so like in theory, I'd benefit from Barkley. That seemed like too much to give up for Barkley. But and I also have an ulterior motive. I am trying to get Jeanty, and I've sent offers, and I feel like in discussions with the manager, if I can get the 102, that seems like probably my best bet to be able to get Jeanty. So I'm also hoping with this counterback, I said hoping to make a second trade off of it too. Feels like that manager with the 101 is there. There's no way they'll entertain giving up the 101 for Barkley. They're in too much of a rebuild, but getting the 102 is better. So it's also the asset I can then flip more easily. And and I'm earmarking it to be Omarion Hampton because I've gotten already a share of McMillan. I've gotten a share of Travis Hunter. So if I stick at 102, I probably am just taking Hampton.
Oh, I've been at multiple 102s, and I've taken Hampton every time.
Yeah, so I think we're all pretty equal on that. Now, this is the next range where I think Jamie's going to be a little more aggressive than myself. I'm curious to see where Rahul has them. So, to me, the next tier of running backs that I have them all back-to-back in rookie rankings and also in running back rankings, RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. Now, I gave them in alphabetical order to not tip my hand on current order, but how high do you have these guys? Are they in the RB1 range? Are all three of them in the RB1 range for you? Is there only one that stands out as that?
Yeah. Two of those three are in the RB1 range. The others just the other and one other rookie running back fall just outside RB1 for me, but I have Judkins at 9 and Henderson at 10. Harvey, I would say RB13 is probably the earliest I would have him, and I think
I got him.
Yeah, I think I'm just sticking to my prospect evaluation of Judkins and Henderson. Maybe that's just like too much take lock, given everything that's gone on since the Broncos went on the clock at 60 and picked RJ Harvey. But I mean, both of these Judkins especially, I think, just has much more of a bulletproof profile for me. And with Harvey, it's just, I understand Dynasty, you only want to really build for 3-year windows. Running backs usually 3-year windows, but I just have that sneaking suspicion, and I credit this thought to someone else on Twitter, but Harvey, I just struggle to see him breaching the top tier of Dynasty assets, because next year people are going to say oh, but he's a 25-year-old running back. Then it's going to be a 26-year-old running back. Well, he's still a rookie contract, so it almost doesn't matter, but I can craft that tale around the 22, the 23-year-old early declared national champion running back a little bit more easily. So yeah, and I guess I had a gap of veterans in between, but that's just how I split those next RBs. Judkins and Henderson firmly a tier above Harvey for myself.
All right, you said RB9 and RB10 specifically for Judkins Henderson.
That's
I know,
correct, yeah.
Jamie, I'm assuming Henderson's going to be higher than RB10. Same for Judkins?
Yeah. So after the top 6, I'd still have Barkley at 6, despite his age. But after that, it's the Breece Hall, Henderson, and Jonathan Taylor tier.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have Henderson at 8. And then after that, it's that 10, which is Judkins, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irvin tier.
So who's at 7?
10,
Who's at
12.
7 for you? Trying to do the math.
Breece Hall.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so I love Breece Hall. So him, Henderson are kind of similar. Same with Jonathan Taylor. And then after that, it goes to that 10 range where I have Judkins, Josh Jacobs, and Bucky Irving.
Yeah, I'm just a little, I guess, to me, it's that Bucky Irving, Chase Brown. I've really elevated them, especially after they seem to have survived the NFL draft.
Starting, same.
Chase is them too far behind.
I've got Bucky as the RB7. I think that, to Jamie's point, it seems like
same.
Barkley's almost a tier of his own because you got 5 young running backs ahead of him, and then it's him. But then it's back to more young running backs like Irving and Chase Brown. So you said Bucky's your RB7, Rahul?
Bucky's my RB7, but I guess maybe the running backs in between Judkins, Henderson, and then Harvey are Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, and then you could rank. I have Chase Brown and Josh Jacobs just ahead in the Excel spreadsheet I put together, but that's kind of where I would start considering Harvey. Yeah.
So maybe I don't know, something about these older running backs that I keep pushing down. I've got Josh Jacobs all the way at RB21, but it really doesn't feel like he's that much. He shouldn't really be more than a tier, even a half tier behind Bucky Irving at 7. So I think that 7 through almost RB24 is pretty flat to me. You've got a bit of variety of everything. Young guys, older guys, but a lot of really productive players. And then intermixed there is the rookies. So I've got Judkins actually as the only of this tier of rookies inside the RB1 range. I've got him at 12, Harvey at 13, Travion Henderson at RB14, which that's going to probably put me one of the lowest on consensus on Henderson. And then Rahul, you referenced a fifth player, or I guess a sixth player, RB6, I guess. Caleb Johnson's my RB19. You can imagine that's the player you were talking about. So
Exactly, and in that same range of vets I had just described, if the ones right after would be like CMC, James Cook, and I just think like it's like this space is like so interesting to like be a part of and like engage in discussion because like dynasty running back rankings is just like another thing that you can't just like get like the right handle on, and everyone has an opinion, but we almost like stray closer and closer like to redraft running back rankings. It's almost like that, what can you do for me now? And there's just like one certain like elite tier, you know, who are probably going to do it for 3 years. So yeah,
because I guess it is such a position we're not really thinking about long term really at all.
Yeah, I almost these days, like if I trade for a vet RB, and I love trading for them like as you're inching up your trade deadline in leagues, or if you don't have trade deadline, great for you. But
if you know you're going to be in the playoffs, so you're trying to compete in a realistic shot of making the playoffs. That's that
exact. And I'm literally only counting on them for the next 5 games or whatever's left of the fantasy season, and then I'll figure it out like in 6 months' time. Like running back is just that kind of position these days.
Yeah, so with that in mind, I think that's why maybe again Caleb Johnson at 19 for me might also seem a little low there. People were especially really hyped on him before the draft. They love the landing spot too, maybe not so much the capital. Where do you guys have him? Is 19 too low for you?
15 for me.
Jamie, Caleb Johnson?
I have 13 through 17 kind of all in the same tier. So I can mismatch them.
Falls in that range. Okay.
So it would be like Caleb Johnson, Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker, RJ Harvey, and James Cook.
Yeah.
All right. Then I think to me there is a fairly big gap, which we see to a certain extent in rookie drafts. I think it's maybe even bigger in this case. I go all the way down to RB30 for my RB7 in the rookie class, and that's Cam Scatterbo.
Yeah. Ooh. Let me.
Jamie, well, I'll go to Jamie first.
Exactly.
He's a Scatterbo hater. He probably
I've actually been rising on him a little bit lately.
So now, if I gone too far and put him low at RB30, where do you think that's a good range for him?
No, I think that's way too low. I have 2 and above Scatterbo just because.
Same. But one spot.
Okay, interesting.
So if I look at it, I got that. Kyron Williams, Derrick Henry in that 18-19 range. Then it goes Chuba Hubbard, Tootin, Montgomery. Then it's like that Scatterbo, CMC, Alvin Kamara range.
I definitely have.
Because honestly, I don't know how well Scatterbo can long term, but like short term, if he blows up, I'm gonna try to sell him for like way higher than a top 20 where I have them.
Fair enough. Okay, so you guys said you both have Tootin ahead of Scatterbo. That's interesting.
I mean, I said one spot ahead, but RB30 is actually where my rookie RB7 fell out in Bashal Tootin, and I just have like the grossest list of vet running backs that I would take that 1 year bet of even like, you know, RB 14 to 20 production next in 2025. Then take the shot on Tootin and Scatterbo, who, I mean, for the right team, if you place them all the way at the top of that tier, so for example, Alvin Kamara is probably like running back like 24 for me, or Montgomery running back 24 for me. Even if you place them there for a rebuilding team, I would understand that. But again, coming back to the RB position, it's just one where production on the field and in your like sleeper app in your matchups is king at the end of the day. And maybe I could dream a little bigger, I could think a little broader, but I haven't seen these guys come in yet. And both of them, you know, Tracy's one we like. We don't really like ECN or Tank Bigsby, but they do still walk into crowded situations. I don't think it's a done deal for me to put them ahead of some of those productive vets for 2025.
Guys like James Conner and Aaron Jones.
Yes.
They're going to get so much work and volume.
So with Scatterbo, at his ADP in like best ball drafts, this is not Dynasty, but I've seen him going around that like 97 to 100 range, at like RB 31 to 32. I'll take a chance on him because he could get 225 carries. He could get 30 to 50 targets. He could get 8 to 10 touchdowns. So that's going to put him in that RB20 range. And if that happens and I have him in Dynasty, I'll sell him all day because I just don't see him repeating. Remember, Jay Ajayi had that big, huge year and never showed up again. That's kind of how I'm looking at Scatterboo.
Now, I want to touch a little bit on the other guy. And the name that you mentioned, Rahul, well, you mentioned two names with Etienne and Bigsby, but do you, based on where you're talking about Tootin, I'm going to guess he's the highest ranked Jaguars running back in Dynasty. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah,
he is for me.
I've got him one spot ahead of Etienne, but the fact that Etienne is, in the last year of his, it's the last year of his rookie contract. Technically, it's his 5th-year option year. I guess that technically counts as an extension. So it's no longer a rookie contract, but a 4th rounder versus that former 1st rounder, but he's at the end of the rope. We have no idea what kind of split it's going to be this year. Like, is Etienne even? He lost his starting job last year. Let's just flat out say it. Like there were games where he was healthy and Bigsby was the starter, getting more carries. So if they really like Tootin, maybe Bigsby and Etienne both lose the starting job. So I definitely see that as a possibility. That's definitely. Would rather invest in the guy that just is about to start his rookie contract.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I'm so low on ETN. Like, I can't even find him in my rankings right now.
And he's RB33 for me, but he's right with all the other players like Jalen Warren, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, guys that have just been hurt by the draft. They might still be the lead backs on their teams, but they also might not. And the risk of them not is, I think, too great. I think the only reason I have Etienne higher than all those guys is the other guys all got, like, not Harris. You got a 1st-round running back rookie to contend with. I wasn't as high on Tootin, and he's also just a 4th-rounder. It's not like Jalen Warren has Caleb Johnson coming in. Like, Warren went from, and you called it, Jamie. People are really high on Jalen Warren, and you're like, oh, they're probably going to draft somebody, so don't too high. I think you said the same thing for Najee Harris, right? So those are guys I think are more hurt than, say, Etienne, just because of the.
So with Travis Etienne, he's already 26 and a half years old. Now, if he was in a situation, let's say that he got traded to Dallas, then bam, I am going to raise him up. But right now, I put him down at like RB50, right around that, like last year's rookie, Jalen Wright, Blake Corum. I even have the guy you just mentioned, Jalen Warren, above Travis Etienne.
Sorry, you said he had Jalen Wright ahead of Travis Etienne? Travis Etienne?
Yeah.
I guess Trevor
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Travis Etienne down at RB50.
See, the thing with Jalen, I guess we don't need to get into Jalen Wright discussion. Just he did so little last year. Like, I almost think I'm pretty sure I have Ollie Gordon ranked higher than Jalen Wright. We're not quite at Ollie Gordon yet. Like, I kind of liked him too last year, but he did nothing. The couple of games he got an opportunity, he looked awful. So I wonder if they've already moved on. But I guess move on to the next tier of running backs to me, of rookies anyway, is Devin Neal, Dylan Sampson, Jaden Blue from RV 40 to 42. Kind of just right after that range of like Najee Harris and Stevenson, which I was just mentioning. And just give me
I got
rookie
Woody
contract
Marks.
Running backs as opposed to older running backs. That's really
I got Woody Marks and Taj Brooks in that Dylan Sampson, Jaden Blue range.
And now it's going to get to the point where we're split on who those names are at running back. So it's almost maybe better to talk about them like RB 9, 10, 11, rookie RB 9, 10, 11, 12, like that kind of range. So, sorry, Jimmy, where is that overall rank range?
What is it? 40. I'm sorry. About 40 to 45 area.
Okay, so right where I've got them too. Rahul, where do you have your? I guess we'll say your RB 8. Or, I guess RB 9.
That again, not what that I put pen to paper on, but that sounds about right. I just like I've expressed this before. I really think the 212 onwards in this rookie class is just a bunch of late fourths.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot of dart throws. Yeah,
your fourth, you're taking as many shots at running back as possible. That's probably already starting in the third. So
So last year's RB2 in the class and RB3 in the class is in the same range, which is Blake
Oh.
Corum and and
No,
Wright.
to me, those guys actually fall to the next range where like my next group of running backs, Jarquez Hunter, Ollie Gordon, DJ Giddens. That's where I've got those.
Yeah,
I will say failures from last year.
Neil.
Guys that just they were drafted highly, but it was such a bad class that like if teams thought, okay, there's no depth at this class, but if we believe in any of these guys, we have to take them early. We believed in them, and then they showed that they were actually pretty awful. So
I suppose sorry, Kyle, but that's a really interesting point because I almost would still want to take the shots on Corum's interesting because Jarquez Hunter joined him, but like Jalen Wright, Trey Benson, maybe he's a little higher, Trey Benson, but Marshawn Lloyd. I like the landing spots of the teams that those running backs are on a lot more than most of the rookie running backs in like 8 and beyond. I think it's either prospect I really disliked like Jaden Blue, or prospects that Devin Neal that I like that landed in like what is going to be an awful offense, right? So that's where I
just talked about how bad Tyler Shuck is.
Yeah. If I'm gonna get a spot start from, let's just leave Corum aside, but Benson, Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Wright, I'd rather jam those guys in my lineup than really any like Dylan Sampson, for example. Like I guess I want to keep coming back. Jarquez Hunter, he's tough. Corum was really well liked on certain corners of the internet. So.
Jamie loves him. Jamie thought he was going to take over like by week 2, week 3, and I don't know. Like
I think Jamie hates Kyron Williams.
Just like with Jalen Wright, I think I'd rather just have Jarquez Hunter than Blake Corum. Maybe it's just the shiny new. It's not even that shiny. He's a 4th rounder, but the new toy we haven't seen fail. I think I might rather just take those shots on an Ollie Gordon, on a Jarquez Hunter, as opposed to these guys last year that we saw that they were given chances and just did nothing. I guess Corum was never really given a chance since Kyron didn't. I don't think he got hurt or
he played every single
barely any time. So
I still have Corum like 10 spots higher than Jarquez Hunter, just because I think
you were a believer.
Shot.
I mean, again, with him and Benson, I guess Corum was a 3rd round pick.
Both of them, both Jarquez and Corum are better running backs than Kyron Williams. So we'll just have to wait a year and see which one pops.
Well, that's big. Kyron Williams is about to end his rookie contract. So while the Rams, up to this point, clearly, and Sean McVay disagrees with you, Jamie, clearly thinks Kyron Williams is a much better running back than Blake Corum.
Well,
but
not all the GMs are correct.
But that's the thing.
Coaches.
They might not think he's good enough to where they're going to pay him. Right? Like they think he's better, but we'll take advantage of the fact he's on a rookie contract and we'll get the better guy.
And
but as soon as we have to pay him,
he still has 3 years left on his rookie contract.
Well, exactly, right? So like I see the path, right? But the path really is the Rams deciding not to extend Kyron Williams.
Well,
if they do, then suddenly the 3 years on his rookie contract, he's going to be stuck behind Kyron Williams.
And when did he start using Kyron? Not his first year, not really his second year, right? It was after that.
It was his second year. It was second year, and he got injured on the very first play of the 2020 of his rookie season. He was taking a kick return, got injured.
It was a foot injury. Like I think he that's what cost Travis Etienne his entire rookie contract.
Yeah. The very first play of it was like Thursday night of that season, kick return, the first touch of the season, Kyron got injured. So it was his second year.
It's funny how we haven't heard the Rams shut up about him being a returner the whole time since, but it also hasn't mattered. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it certainly is a bet that could be worth taking, but it could also, there's no guarantee it's going to succeed. And I guess that's maybe why I've got those guys ranked down where in a range where there really is no guarantees at this point. I can guarantee, have we spent too much time at running back? And I guarantee people want us to move on to wide receivers.
Yeah, I think we already hit our top 60, 70 running backs.
Yeah, it's the thing. Like this range of like DJ Giddens was the last rookie I mentioned. He's RB 58 for me. So yeah, we've gone pretty low.
Yeah.
Like after that, the next range, I think it's like the Jordan James. They're outside my top 75. So I don't have that. I've ranked to 75 at every position. I think 80 at wide receiver. But I haven't, since post-draft, updated everything. There are players ranked below them, but they haven't actually been updated yet. We focus so much on the top end because I figure I'm not going to talk much more about that. But let's not talk anymore about running back. We're moving to wide receiver. So one thing that Rahul was consistent on the whole time of Hunter and McMillan as the top two. Jamie, you were pretty convinced of, okay, maybe initial rankings Hunter was lower, but you said as soon as we get confirmation he's going to be primarily a receiver, he's maybe ahead of Ashton Jeanty. You said at some points, but I was maybe the one that was maybe holding back on him as a top two, Travis Hunter, that is, but it was simply just because I liked Luther Burden so much. Going in the second round, going to a crowded backfield, crowded receiver room, that was enough to drop him. So yeah, Tetairoa McMillan, Travis Hunter. Those are two guys that I think we've clearly got a tier above all other rookies. And how high can they go in wide receiver rankings? Just do either of you have either or both as wide receiver ones right now?
No, right
No.
outside.
Okay.
Like I have McMillan at like 15 and Travis Hunter at 16. So like
That's exactly the same. Exactly the
okay,
same.
so like if I'm in a rookie draft and I'm looking for long term, I'm going Travis Hunter. If I need more immediate production, I'm gonna go Tet McMillan. But I can't put Tet and Hunter over guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., even AJ Brown. I know he's aging out soon, but still, he's got 3 good years left.
Well, back to target share, he had I think he was second among wide receivers in target share last year. The only guy that had a higher target share than AJ Brown was Moose James. So, old or not, he was drawing targets at an elite rate.
AJ Brown's problem, it's not an AJ Brown show, but his problem is Saquon Barkley is too good, and likely the Eagles defense is too good. Yeah.
I think they had something like 418 targets for every player combined. Like that's like we're looking at the Bengals at over 600. So no, I think that is the problem. But I agree with you, Jamie. Like I've got AJ Brown in my top 10.
So. 11 for me, yeah.
But yeah, I've got Tetairoa McMillan at 14, Travis Hunter at 15. So we're all right in agreement in that range. And Marvin Harrison is right above McMillan. So I agree with you there, Jamie. And then Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Ladd McConkey. Right?
And let me ask you this: who do you have right after?
Huge target shares their whole career. So I think McMillan can do that. I think Hunter can do that. But we've seen those other guys do it. Now, here's a name that I have below Hunter and McMillan. And again, this is the Sam Darnold hate. It's Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm not sure if he's forced to play on the outside, if he's going to be as effective as he was in the slot. So there, plus what I view as a downgraded quarterback from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold, that's enough that I think I'd take the bets on the rookies.
What makes you think he's not going to be playing in the slot?
To be fair, the Rams did use Cooper Kupp on the outside a little bit last year, and he was atrocious. Like I remember, I think it was ESPN had their open score, and he was ranked like 140. So
also,
he seems completely incapable of playing on the outside.
And
like
also,
JSN has talked about in recent years. He didn't like it was a Shane Waldron offense where he was low depth of target slot only. It sounds like JSN wants to be an outside receiver. I guess
he could play there. Yeah, he's awesome outside.
I just don't think he's as good as he is in the slot, and thus I don't think he's going to truly hit his ceiling. And again, Sam Darnold. So those two factors, it's enough to scare me, not any lower than wide receiver 16. But that is maybe I guess that's the one reason. That might be that one guy.
Let me ask you this.
That puts McMillan at 14 as opposed to 15.
So you have JSN below Hunter and Tet. So do you have T. Higgins above them? Rashi Rice above them?
Oh my God.
Dunze above them?
No.
I have T. Higgins above.
I've always been the
who is the person above that you move JSN down so far, but you still have Tet and Hunter at that 15, 16 range?
I love the profiles. I mean, I love the fact that Hunter was the second overall pick. Too.
Well, I'm missing a player because like you have JSN down so far. Who do you have above Tet?
Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Ladd McConkey, AJ Brown.
Yeah,
those guys, and then we know who the top 8 are. I think
so we're still missing someone.
I mentioned Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, he's above them, but you have JSN below, so we're
Jefferson, Chase, Lamb, Neighbors, St. Brown, Nakua, Collins, Thomas. Those are the top 8. I think we've established that in previous episodes. AJ Brown's at 9, Lad McConkey's 10, Drake London
Yeah.
11, Garrett Wilson 12, Harrison 13, and then we have the rookies.
Oh, you have them at 14 and 15.
Oh, you have them 14,
Yeah.
15.
Yeah,
We
that's
were
what I'm
talking
saying. That's
15.
JSN's that one guy we're
I
different
see.
on that I
Yeah,
have.
I thought you had them at 15, 16.
No, I'm one spot higher, and I think it's JSN, right? I think that's the one guy that's just different from us that I've got McMillan one spot ahead of where you guys have.
And there is one guy, I think, Rashee Rice, if he gets a full season.
I mean, really get a full
he
season, though. I mean, it was a pretty serious knee injury. Like, I don't necessarily want to go, like, I'm higher on Worthy than Rice. I just think he profiles as a better, like,
I have
upside type player, and
3 apart.
be tied to a quarterback like Mahomes. I think you can actualize that. If it's a really bad quarterback, sure, I'll take the slot receiver who's going to get the easier targets because the really bad quarterback can hit those and not the outside throws. But it's Mahomes, and Worthy's not coming off a serious knee injury, and there's also the suspension potential. But I'm more concerned with Rice's health. Like, I just don't know what you're going to get out of him this year. I would rather buy Rice low, assuming he comes back and disappoints. And maybe I totally missed the window to buy Rice in that case. I think I'm willing to make that risk.
Yeah, I have Rashee at 17 and Worthy at 18. None of us are doctors. It's impossible to know the health situation on him, but it sounds like it was a pretty atypical injury where his ACL was intact and everything else was damaged. Again, don't know what that means for recovery. Seen a few, windows or videos of him, playing against air, looking pretty shifty. I would
the
say.
one benefit though is that it happened so early in the season. I mean, this was late September,
yeah.
So that's the one thing that works in his favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel pretty confident of Rashee Rice playing in a whole 2025 season just on the fact that the criminal case is not move forward at all. We know how slow it sounds, at least, like how slow it's been moving. It's going to keep moving. So I think he's going to play a full 2025, and I'll take, even if he's not, the screen merchant that we saw for 5 games last year. He was a top 5 wide receiver while he was on the field last year.
So he had like a close to 26% target share. Like it was great, but we also hadn't seen Worthy break out, right? Like, is this the same offense?
Yeah.
So like that was, they almost felt like they were doing that out of necessity. And I mean, it helped them win games, so there is an incentive for them to go back to that. They also won a bunch of games once Rice got hurt, so was he really that much of a factor?
I guess with Rice, too, I'm also kind of baking in the Travis Kelce continued decline, and I think Kelce and Rice win in very, very similar areas of the field, and are, at least Rice in the start of the year, was used as that kind of chain mover, short yardage, like middle of the field. And I think Worthy and Rice could coexist, but I think Rice is, while I could at 17 and 18, and I hear you on Worthy having that higher ceiling, but volume is king for me. And so we're arguing about, very little, but I think Rice 17. And really, I think I would take Rashee Rice cross positionally in the same tier as Judkins and Henderson, and Worthy falls to the top of the next tier, which includes 6 other vet wide receivers for me, from 18 down to wide receiver 23. So Rashee, tier ahead.
I think I've got those receivers about about a tier, like maybe about a round ahead of the rookie running backs coming in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's fair, but yeah, like for Worthy, I could still see someone say they'd take an Odunze, a Devonta Smith, Waddle, Addison over Worthy, and I probably wouldn't push back too much. But I think Rashee Rice, for me, I feel pretty confident in him coming back.
I definitely have Devonta Smith ahead of both of them. I think he's proven enough that he's been in the NFL, even as a number 2 on his own team. That goes so little, so much of it goes towards Brown and Smith, and I'm pretty confident Smith ahead of them. I've always been higher on Addison as well, but that's like, to me, that's the range where Worthy's in. But sorry, Kyle, and this is not even a rookie, but the one that I noticed, at least against Keep Trade Cut, I just needed a list of the players, but the biggest discrepancy for me, the last person in this wide receiver tier would be Brandon Ayuk, who I guess with the market value, I'm probably going to be trying to buy aggressively everywhere. He's, of course, another player coming off a significant knee injury like Rashee Rice. He unfortunately did tear both ACL and MCL.
But it was around the same time of the season, and I think
it was a little later. I remember because I think with Ayuk he got hurt and then missed some time and then came back. But so I think that true ACL tear, I think it might have happened in November.
Yeah,
late October, but
I think at least there's a little more concern for Ayuk playing week 1 than Rashee Rice playing
sure.
week 1.
I think the timeline of it, yes, and lack of ACL tear for Rice. That's that one kind of what's the silver lining on the whole event.
Well, I guess to queue up,
Jamie, I've always had Worthy ahead of Adunze. Even pre-draft last year, I'm continuing that because I guess it's a good transition to talk about Luther Burden tier. I think we're all low on Luther Burden because of the crowded space in Chicago. But if we're going to make that argument, I think we have to also make it for Adunze, right? Like if it's a crowded room and we're worried about one, we should really, in theory, be worried about all, unless we think there's a true alpha that just dominates no matter what. I don't think that's Adunze. I think that's DJ Moore. Maybe that breakout comes for Adunze next year, assuming DJ Moore's gone. But I don't know. Adunze's a guy I'm pretty like. That's a guy I have Rashee Rice over. So of all the names we've named, we finally found the one in Adunze that I actually have below Rashee Rice. But but yeah, to me, Burden is in that next tier with where Ibuka. I'll start us off. I've got Ibuka at 29, and then the Burden through Trey Harris is wide receiver 34, 35 Golden, 36 Harris.
I guess two things to unpack there. I think Burden is tiers below my rookie wide receivers 3 and 4, who are actually Matthew Golden and then Ibuka, who I have at wide receiver 25 and 26, respectively. Now, there's some vet wide receivers, young players that, again, if you were to push back on me, I'd probably fold right immediately to give some context. So Ayuk was right above them, and Kyle, you and I just talked about it. Addison, Devonta. Right after, I'd have Olave, Flowers, and Jameson Williams. But with the rookies, first-round rookies, great capital, offenses that should be good. Golden, maybe a little more early opportunity. Ibuka, competition starts, but a prospect we really liked. I'll always take the shot on the young wide receiver, compared to Olave, who has produced but never hit an elite ceiling and multi-concussions, bad offense. Flowers, I'm just concerned he's gonna be capped out as wide receiver 26 year in, year out. JMO boom bust. Sorry, got way off topic there, but that's just to say
it's funny. That's the guy I have immediately behind Ibuka. I thought those were really good comparison, first round receivers, but we are concerned about target share. And I mean, we saw the breakout with Williams, but I think as an overall prospect through production score, I think I prefer Ibuka. But yeah, I think that's a really close comparison. I love that.
But Luther Burden, I have all the way. Luther Burden is probably where a couple of you guys have. He's wide receiver 37 for me.
Only 3 spots lower than me. I've got him at 30.
Yeah,
but I guess maybe my thing is I'm lower on Golden. That's the big difference. I've got Golden at 35, whereas you've got him inside the top 30.
Yeah, inside. Yeah, 25. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's really where the big difference is. I guess maybe that tier of receiver, I'm putting them all together, whereas you really are separating those first rounders in Golden and Ibuka. And I'm not. I've really kind of viewed that as one giant tier. Maybe Ibuka slightly ahead of the rest, but I thought there was a fairly decent gap between wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 in this rookie class post draft.
Oh yes, but I guess then for me,
not quite a full round. But if I'm, if it's 12 copies of Kyle making 12 picks, there's probably only 2 first round wide receivers. And then Ibuka probably kicks off the second round at 201. So, we're talking about Hunter probably at the 105, 104. And so I guess that's maybe 8 picks difference, rookie pick wise, but it also then it magnifies in total dynasty rankings because there's just so many veteran receivers. Olave, that's a name I have not known where to rank. I've had points where he's below Trey Harris. Right now I've got him actually 1 spot behind Jameson Williams. So he's someone that I don't know. I guess let's take Trey Harris. I think he might be our wide receiver 7 for all of us. Do you guys want Trey Harris or Chris Olave?
Olave.
I think you might be muted, Jamie, if you're speaking, or unless you're not speaking and trying to just force us to get.
Olave's just making him ponder real hard here. Now he's muted, huh?
Yeah, no, I'm taking Olave over Trey Harris. They're probably
That is how I have it ranked. I think before I made this last update, I think I actually did have him lower. But first rounder versus a guy who wasn't even taken in the top 50 of the NFL draft. Like that's probably should trust the process and what we've at least seen with Olave in spite of the concussion and injury risks, which are very very scary. Also, is this supposed to be a Brandon Ayuk joke, Jamie? I puke.
Yeah, I puke. I don't want anything.
Do you like because Rahul mentioned his ranking, and I don't know.
So
can you say it? You might have been gone, Jamie.
Wide receiver 24 for Brandon Ayuk for me.
I have Ayuk at like around 30, and if you had to ask me, do you want Matthew Golden or Ibuka over Ayuk? I'd say, give me Golden. And
I might have rookie. I'm taking Trey Harris over Ayuk. I've got Ayuk, guys. You want to talk about Ayuk? This might actually make Rahul puke. I've got Brandon Ayuk at wide receiver 59.
I love it. So I have him around that 30 range.
Juwan Jennings season, baby. Juwan Jennings has officially taken over this wide receiver room.
How quickly we forget. How quickly we forget.
Torn ACL, man. And to be fair, like there's torn ACL guys. I have a lot. Like Diggs is even lower than that. Even though he probably actually, maybe Diggs should be higher because he might almost have a better shot of being his wide receiver one. I don't know. I sold all my Ayuk shares. I've got no interest. He comes back next year and he looks okay. I'll buy back in. But for now, he makes me want to puke.
I think the hypothesis with Ayuk is still the same as a year ago. Yes, ACL tear for sure. I understand that, but my hypothesis last year, where I was like pushing Ayuk into like nearly like wide receiver like 10 range in dynasty rankings, is eventually this core of Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey are either all older than Ayuk, and all of them have had histories of injury problems. Of course, Ayuk is now the one coming off the most significant injury, but I still think those pieces are going to fall, and Ayuk is going to be like the cornerstone of this like passing attack for years to come. The contract at least kind of mandates that for a couple more years.
Although all these rumors they were trying to trade him too, right? Like
it's tough. Yeah.
Nothing ever materialized, and they did trade Deebo, so they did show a capacity to make those moves, and they didn't here. So is that a good sign that they didn't trade him? And that maybe those rumors weren't coming from the 49ers. Maybe that was other teams trying to like shake him loose or get them to panic about the ACL. Who knows? But yeah. I guess you want to get to the next tier of receivers? Does everyone get to say what they want to about these guys?
So with Ayuk, I just want to say my friend, she was trying to get into the chat, but she's technology inclined. I gave her advice to sell Ayuk to get Higgins, and I have Higgins and Harrison.
Jaden Higgins or T Higgins?
Jaden Higgins, because
I would try for both. I think I would go for either of those or happy, but yeah, probably easier.
It was a rookie pick. It was a rookie pick, and I told her, I'm like, I don't want anything to do with Ayuk. Give me Higgins, give me Trey Harris over him. And she said, well, my friends were telling me I'm an idiot for selling Ayuk for Higgins. And I'm like, what? Like, did I make a mistake? Like, nobody is buying Ayuk.
Let them think you're an idiot.
Nobody
and that
is
way you
buying,
can sneak up and get better moves on them, right?
Nobody's buying Ayuk for a first round pick.
Oh.
Higgins is going early second, right? So I'm like, why not go with the younger guy that's going to be involved in his offense? And I told her, I'm like, my bad if I told you wrong advice, but no. Then she was like, oh no, you're good.
Now, this is that reaction. Maybe we shouldn't speak in absolutes. Rahul, would you send a first round pick for Brandon Ayuk?
Man, I guess at this point, if I said the first round pick, I'm just the dunce in the room because I'm not reading it right. But
maybe that's imperative to go do that, but like get more than Ayuk, right? Get Ayuk and a running back that you can throw in your lineup, or just Ayuk and you're getting a mid-second back as well, and you're still maybe getting a Trey Harris anyway.
I mean, like I would take I have Ayuk ranked ahead of Golden and Buka, and man, even these tiers, Harvey and Caleb, but now that seems a little aggressive. I think this is a generational buying opportunity for Brandon Ayuk, who, uh, he had a maybe a half PPR. It was a wide receiver 12 season. He
I
is
think he did.
yeah, at least in half
Just hit that
PPR. He
that
didn't
was
have
2023, I think.
2023, and then 2022 was a little bit of a rough one. He got into the doghouse with Shanahan, but still had some good games down the stretch.
Pretty good as a
Towards the
rookie.
Yeah, he was great as a rookie, as a wide receiver 2 as a rookie. I think, honestly, we're both ignoring the talent. We can disagree or not, but I think even the history of production, I feel pretty confident Ayuk is gonna, when he's healthy to go, is gonna step in as a wide receiver 1. Now he has a platform where he could be a target earner that he hadn't shown yet in his career. So generational buying opportunity.
Debo being out there, is that what's exciting you there? Like that?
Debo being gone, but you also, Christian McCaffrey is another year older after 2 significant injuries last year. George Kittle did sign a contract extension, another year older. There is some fear, talk on the Twitter sphere that the Niners are going to move to more pass-heavy offense than they have been in the past. Now, calling the Niners pass-heavy is different from saying more pass-heavy than the past, where they've been, 30th in the league in pass attempts, right? So I think there's capacity for both more volumes with the Niners, more targets for Ayuk, and I hear Jennings, I hear the Pearsall, wherever they are, the Pearsall truthers, but I feel very confident in Ayuk's talent. Yeah. So, if I had to put my money where my mouth is, like if I had to send like the 110 for Brandon Ayuk, I feel like I could have done better, but that's where I have him ranked in these rankings. So
I think an Ayuk season check-in might be in store for this show. Do you guys want to check in with the next receivers? Like, 'cause my next guy is Kyle Williams.
Yeah, that's the only guy.
I've seen, because I've seen in rookie drafts where.
Well, what about Josh Besh?
That's the thing. I've seen Jack Besh kind of go more consistently in the second round of rookie drafts right now, just as the second rounder. To me, I've got Williams slightly ahead of that next tier, which includes Besh, but they're all outside the top 50. I've got Kyle Williams at 51, and then 54 through 57 is that next tier, which includes Jack Besh.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. I think that's pretty fair.
Which is right ahead of Ayuk.
I don't think that's fair at all.
I snuck that in there. You agreed, no?
Guys, can we talk about George Pickens? Can we have a little George Pickens segment? Like, where are y'all ranking him these days?
To be fair, that was something we hadn't addressed, the trade to Dallas. Right now, I've got him at wide receiver 37.
So, fun fact, George Pickens
34, yeah. Fun fact?
George Pickens is Ayuk.
No, fun fact, George Pickens is the great nephew of the legend Bo Jackson. So just for the talent and the bloodline, I have him in my top 24.
I don't know. Sure, Sanders didn't seem to make much difference. Right? Because, the whole thing with Dion was he was this, like, crazy, incredible athlete. Like, clearly Shador isn't. So, I don't know. Here's the thing. Pickens has shown he is a crazy, incredible athlete who has some amazing ability.
Pickens is great at contested catches. Just throw the ball up, you catch him.
It's not Dak, though. Dak loves to see it and throw the open guys, right?
But we've seen what Brandon Cooks could do in that offense. So Pickens is going to be a better version of that. I see people lowering CeeDee Lamb because of Pickens going there. I'm like, no, CeeDee Lamb's going to have his. He plays 50% in the slot. He plays 50% on the outside. Pickens is not going to take away from Lamb. Pickens is going to help Dak and that whole offense.
Well, and just what you said there, Jamie, have they been moving Lamb to the outside because they haven't had any good outside receivers? Does Lamb's slot usage actually go up this year? Because with Pickens on the outside, they don't feel like they have to push the boundaries too much with Lamb. Like, they can have him just dominating the slot consistently. He might have a career year, even though we saw it a couple of years ago, that career year already. Like, he can have returned to that same type of target share, that same type of efficiency. Like, Pickens might help Lamb. So I agree with that. Like, like regardless of Pickens being there, Lamb's role is set. I think really it's Jake Ferguson. Like Ferguson he might still be in line to be number 2 in targets because Dak loves to just throw it to tight ends so much. He's done it with Ferguson. He's done it with even Jason Witten a little bit, but yeah, Schultz for a while. Doesn't matter who these tight ends are. He likes that more than the contested catches. So I still think Pickens, he's probably number 3 on that team in targets. I don't see anyone really taking that away from him. I think he'll still be hard pressed to get more targets than Ferguson, and certainly he's not going to touch Lamb's target share.
Three targets, second in receiving yards, though. I would
sure.
take that.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, because again, the nature of his targets, and here's the thing: he's getting a massive QB upgrade. So even if it's the targets aren't what it was in Pittsburgh, his efficiency should increase. So yeah, that's the Pickens talk. But yeah, do you guys want to talk about Kyle Williams? Again, that next tier for me is Jalen Royals, Alec Aman, Jalen Nolan, Jack Besh. No, you might try to talk about tight ends, right?
I have Besh over all those guys that you mentioned.
He's a second rounder. The rest of the guys aren't. Is that's
Manor, mid to late 3rd round and rookie draft? Sure, why not?
I meant like second round NFL draft. But also, to be fair, like again, a lot of times I'm seeing Besh go in the second round of rookie drafts. I don't quite agree with that. I think he should be in the 3rd round, but I'm also taking like Milroe ahead of him and some tight ends. But speaking of that position, let's talk tight ends. I pluralized this one and everything else is singularized. Darn it. Whatever. Anyway, we're talking tight ends. Too late now. And we don't really want to talk about Alec Aman or Go Canada, but we'd much rather talk about Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren, right? I mean, we're almost an hour and a half in. We might as well get to the guy who's on the thumbnail in Colston Loveland. But Jamie, I know again back to episode 2, you were already like Tyler Warren's top 3 tight end in Dynasty. Maybe I think I already asked you this, but now with the context of we've had time, we've seen rookie drafts. He's still your tight end 3 in Dynasty?
I have him at 4. I still have Laporta, McBride, and Bowers over Warren.
Yeah. I think McBride and Bowers are pretty given.
Yeah. So I have to put him at 4 just because of his talent, his future usage. I can't put him below Hawkinson with the new quarterback. I don't know, man. It's tough because after the top three, it's like, well, where do you go from there? So
don't we have more faith in JJ McCarthy than Warren's quarterbacks, though?
Not Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones could feed.
That's fair. I mean, he certainly. I think we definitely have more confidence in Daniel Jones, to be fair. But yeah, I think I made my argument on that though. Is that I still know the touchdowns increase because Daniel Jones does not throw touchdowns. I think the one player that I think benefits the most from Daniel Jones being there is Jonathan Taylor because he won't get touchdowns vultured at the goal line from Richardson, and he might actually catch more passes just from the simple fact of having more passing volume. So I just really don't love the QB situation, but yeah, I think for all of us, he's a tight end 1. Jamie, so you've got Warren at 4. How close do you have Colston Loveland?
Loveland's not too far behind him. I still have Hawkinson, Njoku, Kittle above, and then Loveland would be my 8th.
I'm right below. I've got Colston Loveland at 9. I also have Evan Ingram as well.
So yeah, Evan Ingram, I love that. Maybe I did make a mistake. I need to move Loveland or Ingram up a little bit. So man, it's just that age difference because Ingram's already 30.
Yeah, same draft class as Kittle, right? If we think Kittle is an old guy, then
true. Yeah, damn.
But I also have Kittle ahead of both Warren and Loveland anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. I've got Loveland at 9. I've got Tyler Warren at tight end 10 because I really need to see him actually do it on the Colts with this quarterback room before I rank him any higher than that. But fading rookie tight ends has not worked the last 2 years, so maybe I'm an idiot for doing that.
It probably worked every single year before that.
Yeah, no, it did.
I mean, I have Loveland once ahead of Warren 1 spot, but that's up at tight end 4 and tight end 5 per person, and Laporta 3, Kittle at 6 to complete that little mini tier. But I think both of these are still elite prospects taken in the top 15 of the NFL draft. It's gonna again depend a little bit on your scoring settings of where exactly they're going to fall in the overall ranks for you, but compared to like names that probably went a little bit ahead for you, fall behind for me, but like Hawkinson, Engram, Njoku, like Dalton Kincaid's an interesting one, but compared to those guys, Loveland and Warren have a higher chance of being, that difference making production at tight end. Every tight end's probably going to fall between like 11 to like 9 points per game, and Loveland being like the really the true great receiving threat that he is, and Warren being just like such a dynamic player, like they could be those guys who range into like, okay, now you've lapped the rest of the field. So again, similarly how we started with Cam Ward in the first section an hour ago, I'll pay a little more to get crooked production at the end of the day, which we haven't seen, but the potential is there. But Hawkinson at this stage, I don't think is ever going to reach a place where you're saying like, damn, the tight end 2 is 6 points ahead of the 6 points per game ahead of the tight end 3, or the same gap from 3 to like 10, right?
What we saw with Kelsey all those years, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's exactly it. Yeah,
all right. Move on to the next tier of rookie tight ends then. Again, one thing we're all in agreement, these guys should instantly come in and be top 12 tight ends. Again, even at the low end like me with Warren. It's funny because we were talking about Warren, actually, real quick. You said, okay, top 15 pick in the NFL draft, uber talented, like all this impressive potential. I've got Warren one spot ahead of Kyle Pitts, and it feels like all that saying it just applies to Kyle Pitts. The only reason he might be this high is because of the faith in Michael Penix. Again, another name we referenced like an hour and a half ago. But after that little just to name drop there, no one really wants to talk about Kyle Pitts. Those are actually the only tight ends I have in the top 24. And I have Terrence Ferguson, Mason Taylor, and Elijah Arroyo at tight end 25, 26, and 27, respectively. So I don't know what you guys think of that. Is that too low for these rookies coming in? Am I still fading them too hard?
I can't, man. Y'all like, who are some tight ends in the NFL? I couldn't even think of guys to like fit like between like 12 and 23 that you have there.
What about Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, and Mark Andrews?
Yep, all those guys. I mentioned Jake Ferguson earlier. He's 15.
Dallas Goedert, Travis Kelce.
Kelce at tight end 12.
Oh,
like at this point,
I got Kelce at 21.
I just think that I'll take the 1 year bet on Kelce. Still continues to go and still continues to earn crazy good target share. But it is being tested. I mean, to me, 12 is pretty low than what we've been accustomed to ranking him.
I think the lowest. Sorry, Kyle, but the lowest I probably would. I think they'd come in at 17 and 18 for me. Mason Taylor is my tight end 3, and then Terrence Ferguson tight end 4. 17 and 18.
I guess I've just got enough guys that are starters on their teams, and I mean, one guy I had that isn't a starter, and Isaiah Likely, but may eventually be a starter. But he's also shown enough as a number 3 target in that offense anyway. Is the number 2 tight end, so he's the one back of tight end I'm willing to rank ahead of them. But for now, I mean, all 3 of them might not start this year, which is fine. I mean, shouldn't bank everything on just year one production from tight ends. I do have Arondé Gaddison,
yes,
Thomas Padone, and Gunnar Helm all within my top 60.
God damn, I love Gaston. Dude, I've been putting 55 to 60% of my fab on Gaston at the end of the drafts just because I want to stash them.
He's my tight end 49.
What are you really going to use your fab on during the season in Dynasty? There's not much, so why not use it as an extra pick? I have him at tight end 28 right now, right around that Hunter Henry, K-Dot, and Kyle Pitts range, Bretton Strange.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of there's tons of fab being spent immediately after the rookie draft. So that makes sense.
I will draft every single penny of my fab to get a Gaston. If I miss out on Gaston, I put like $16 on Helm. Maybe I'll get him. I'm not too high on him, but I wouldn't mind getting him as a consolation prize.
like I said, those two and also Thomas Fedone, they're just all around tight end 50 for me.
Sorry,
you probably shouldn't have those guys in your top 120. So I imagine they're not.
So where do you have Zach Ertz? Because Ertz is like lower than 50.
You see, he's like, tight end 18 for me.
So I have him at like tight end 50, but like in my best ball
last year before the season, I totally had that too. And then he came out and it didn't matter that Ben Sadat was there. He still was out there for all the snaps and just caught a ton of passes. Didn't do anything. Actually, I think he had one catch that went for like 15 yards. And my joke when I was watching it happen, man, that's like that equals his like yak from the last 3 years on one play.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, Jaden Daniels, he gets the best out of him, right? So he's one of those guys I have ahead of the rookies still because he's a starter and he's producing.
For Dynasty, though, he's right around that 50 range. But for redraft, I'm taking him in the top 20.
Yeah. Guys, sorry. I'm just a little shocked right now because I just plugged this trade into KTC, and apparently
that site sucks.
I know. So I wonder what you guys will think about this. Apparently, Kyle Pitts plus the 412 is equal to Brandon Ayuk.
Wait, Kyle Pitts and a 412.
I mean,
it's equal to Brandon.
I don't want any of that.
That's crazy because I mean, I
gotta go.
Give me your entire fab budget, and I'll just buy a bunch of different players. No.
I could literally go to keep trade cut. I could put in like 8 fourth-round picks. And
I know, but this is just a 2-for-1, right? So you're just not nickeling and diming it too much.
I mean, it's the 412. It barely even counts, right? It almost just feels like a Pitts for Ayuk straight up, right? And
man,
I don't think that's that bad, but Rahul is like offended by the existence of that trade. So I guess that's back to the point of Ayuk, right? Like there's how we're just like so diametrically opposed on Ayuk.
How am I misreading the market? Man, I gotta go send some trade offers now. But Ayuk is already on all of my teams.
And tune in next week as Rahul talks about how he got a bunch of Brandon Ayuk on his team through various trades. But speaking of trades, it's time for the trade of the week. Actually brought to you by Rahul this week. This happened in one of your leagues. I think you weren't involved in this trade, right?
I unfortunately wasn't involved in the blockbuster here.
I mean, this is one you had to have a QB to get in the club, right? You want to dance the QB trades, you already needed a QB, right? So it's a 12-team Superflex, start 10, and half PPR, as Rahul mentioned, he only exclusively plays half PPR, and half tight end premium as well. So tight ends do get a full point per reception, so doubles the reception totals for other players. So while it might not, that doubling isn't as impactful as a 1 PPR or 2 PPR, it still is the same essence of doubling the scoring. The trade is, on one side, Josh Allen. On the other side, Jalen Hurts and T. Higgins. So it's really just a big question of the tier breaks, Allen to Hurts. Is there a tier break? Is there not? And it really feels like your answer to that question will inform what side you want to be on the trade.
I just want to also toss in 6-point passing touchdown. Which I think makes in this particular quarterback split, that does make a difference, I think, with Josh Allen, he's going to put up both through the air and through the ground, and Jalen Hurts in this day and age. We talked about the AJ Brown.
Really, last year, I think Bo Nix had more passing touchdowns than Josh Allen.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Historically.
But he usually is above 30. This was wonder if it's an outlier year. Maybe it is.
Wonder if it's a Steph Diggs effect. It could be Steph Diggs.
Part of it too was, I think part of it was the James Cook effect, right? Like how many touchdowns did Cook score that Josh Allen didn't have to throw? So if you also believe James Cook is going to regress to maybe not what his average was before, but certainly a lot closer to what it was before, then instead of 16, you're looking at 6 maybe. That's maybe more touchdowns towards Josh Allen. So
I saw this crazy stat that James Cook scored on 25% of his red zone carries last year, which is a bonkers conversion rate for any player to have. Like 1 in 4 touches.
I think he had the most rushing touchdowns inside the 5. I'll check my goal line guy data from last year, but I'm pretty sure they were right up there.
Well, we all know James Cook's rushing touchdowns are going to go down this year. It's inevitable.
The question is by how much, right? Because I mean, he could have another double-digit touchdown season, and he's great. Like, even if it goes down to 10 rushing touchdowns, you're still probably pretty happy with that. But his previous career high, I think, was 4. So
Yeah.
like, is it going to be closer to that? That's where there's concern. And yeah,
Right.
they had the Bills had 23 rushing touchdowns inside the 5, and this also includes the playoffs, to be fair. But that tied the Eagles. So the team that's usually been dominant in that regard, it's back to these two quarterbacks again: Josh Allen for Jalen Hurts, right?
So I do like this trade. I also want to say there's a trade in our chat. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But
Thank you for your patience.
Jalen Hurts, he's a top 5 quarterback for me. So is Josh Allen. Josh Allen is at the top of that top 5, right? So if you give me,
not for Kyle, but yes, for me.
if you give me a T. Higgins, which is a top 15 receiver, on top of a top 5 quarterback, I'm willing to tear down from Josh Allen to Jalen Hurts and give me Higgins on top of that. I don't hate it at all. I think there's more value on that Jalen Hurts Higgins side. I would actually say, hey, give me, if I'm the Josh Allen owner, I'm gonna be like, hey, give me your 4th round pick, your 403 or 404, just to get a little bit on top of that.
Just make it a 2 for 2.
Yeah. So therefore, like, yeah, I am tearing down a little bit for quarterback, but I'm getting an elite wide receiver that can score you 40 points a game at any given week, 20 points here and there, 15 points at his freaking lowest. But then I also get that free flyer at that 404 to say, hey, let me get an Ollie Gordon or whoever is at that 404, Gaston. So I think this is a complete even trade, but I do want a little bit more on top of that Josh Allen.
Man,
I want to push back on. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I do think it's an even trade. I just think that whether or not you think Josh Allen's 101 in Dynasty, he's probably 2 or 3 at the very lowest, and there's just like a that's like almost like a tier that you can very rarely buy into. How often can you buy like the most expensive player in Dynasty? And I think like if that's the final piece and I'm stacked in my flex spots, like start 10 is an interesting balance. Like, would you rather have that extra wide receiver fill it out? 10 is like right on the line. Yeah, it's a fair trade, but I could see it. I wouldn't be unhappy having received Josh Allen and trading those pieces away.
I would say I've already established I'm the T. Higgins hater on the show outside the top 20 Dynasty receivers right now. I'm easily taking Hurts and Higgins though. I'll trade Higgins after the fact because whatever I get from Higgins, I think it's just basically you're getting T. Higgins for free. Because I push back on the thought that this is a tear down. Because I go back to episode 1 and maybe things have changed. I mean that was several months ago. Or I guess 2 months ago. I guess not, episode 2, when we did the top 2 tiers, all 3 of us had Jalen Hurts in the top tier QB with Josh Allen. And yeah, all of us have Allen ranked ahead, but to me, that's the difference in a startup. It's the 102 versus the 104, and you're getting a free 4th added to it. I'm doing that 100 times that. So I view this as basically 2 QBs that are pretty flat, especially these 2 who have the most weekly upside of any players in fantasy football. Their abilities to get rushing touchdowns are really unparalleled. It separates them from other guys. They might not have a safe floor as a Jaden Daniels or a Lamar Jackson. Again, the rushing yards versus rushing touchdown debate argument. But to me, I feel like I'm almost getting the same quarterback. I'm just getting T. Higgins for free. So I'm easily on the Hurts Higgins side. And Jamie, the 4 whatever. If I'm the Hurts manager, I've got to add the 401 to make this happen. I'm easily.
Yeah, I love that, adding the 401.
All right, so we got a question from Reed Deniso here. Should I trade Ashton Jeanty, Kyron Williams, and Matthew Golden for Saquon Barkley, Bucky Irving, and Tetairoa McMillan in a Dynasty Fantasy Football League? Since it's equal, I don't even think the number of starters matters that much. It is a full 3 for 3. And when I see something like this, okay, what's the most valuable piece? I think it's Jeanty, but then what counts is what's the least valuable piece out of this. I think easily the two most least valuable pieces are Kyron Williams and Matthew Gold. So
yeah, but they're both valuable pieces.
They are, but they're not. They like to me, McMillan and the two running backs are that's probably a tier above. And I guess talk about like Irving being RB7 all the way down to RB21 isn't that much of a difference, but I think I'm seeing this like this is a type of trade I would trade Ashton Jeanty away from.
Yeah.
Because you're probably equally in his production with Barkley. You still get the long-term value of Irving, and you added the wide receiver one in the class in McMillan. I think I want that side, and I think I can win more easily with that side. But I'm also, again, lower than you guys on Matthew Golden. So I think that really colors my thought of, yes, Jeanty's the best piece, but I get the second, third, and fourth most valuable pieces on the other side. I'm going to take that Barkley.
Dude, give me the RB1 in this trade all day. RB1 in Dynasty, Ashton Jeanty.
In Dynasty, it's not Bijan, not Gibbs.
Give him a gold jacket. He's already primed to be in the Hall of Fame. Ashton Jeanty right now. Give him to me. I hate Kyron Williams. But
I know. That's why I'm shocked you took the side.
Give me the 1 year of Kyron left in that offense. And Matthew
all right,
Golden.
so far we're split. Sorry, Reed.
I'd go with the Saquon side here. I'd make it 2-1 with the Saquon side. This is the only kind of trade that and it's.
I think we've seen a lot of like trades involving Jeanty, whether it's been like in our league or offers we've gotten, or in Jamie's case, offers we've actually gone out and been able to buy Jeanty for, just things we've seen in leagues. And I've rarely seen a Jeanty trade that makes it make sense to trade away Jeanty or trade away the 101. To me, this is good. So this you get the requisite value, right? And I think now to you, Reed, is this the structure of the trade you want? I mean, I suppose it's the same positions, right? You're trading 2 running backs and a rookie receiver for 2 running backs and a rookie receiver. So team build really probably doesn't enter into it. It's just player takes at this point. Do you believe in Jeanty? Do you think he's the RB1 in Dynasty, like Jamie says? You can go ahead and do that. If you are hesitant at all, though, and especially if you think you can win this year, I think adding that Barkley piece might be truly elevating. Now, Jeanty could also help you win a title this year too, right? So it's maybe I'm also like really high on Bucky Irving. Like that really also colors the deal. But yeah, it I think all of us would say this is in the realm of fair.
Yeah.
All right, and one question from RPO Football. I guess it's Steve.
Oh, that's Steve. That's got to be Steve. Holy shit.
Mary Kill, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels.
Wait, so that's F, Mary, Kill, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jalen Daniels. Oh my God.
I mean, everyone knows who I'm marrying. I'm marrying Jalen.
Well,
I'll propose right now.
I'm gonna marry Jane Daniels also, but I also want to F Josh Allen because he had that long ball that you want if you're gonna be effing someone. All right, I'm done.
I mean,
I'm done.
Never mind. I'm not even gonna say that. I think I agree with you there, Jamie. Just because like Allen's weekly, I think Hill hurts just because the risk of what if the tush push is banned. I think there's just that question. Like I'm pretty confident in Hurts as the top 5 QB, but he would be the one I think most likely to fall out of that top 5.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. And just to reference the trade from earlier again, I think I don't know. I have 1 6-point pass touchdown league and the rest of 4 pass touchdowns, but just to walk through from 2021 through 2024, man, maybe ChatGPT got these numbers right. Scrap all that, but yeah, I'd kill Jalen Hurts there because points wise, he's more likely to fall out, and like ADV wise, he's not going to have the appeal that Allen or Daniels have.
I just want to
First
say,
rounders versus the second round guy, right? Like if people seem to hate that Hurts gets all these rushing touchdowns.
I mean, people just like, and even take it out of fantasy
the
Twitter,
worst thing
but
for
people
fantasy.
yeah.
I love it.
I mean,
but I have Hurts on my team, so I love getting all those rushing touchdowns. But that just seems like it's complaining of that. Like, oh, people hate this because they just don't have Hurts on their teams.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you think of just like NFL fans, like Jalen Hurts just gets disrespected left, right, and center. Like, and yeah, I'm not gonna like Josh Allen is the better NFL QB, but Jalen Hurts is gonna have like that stink to him that the others just don't have. When we're talking about the
The
first
fact
top
that he
four
won a Super Bowl
quarterbacks,
is
right?
not going to change any of it, right? Like, people are just
It's not
going
gonna change. Yeah,
right? They're
yeah.
going to love talking about how Brady's the best ever because he wins all the time. But then, like, okay, but should you elevate Hurts because he just won a Super Bowl? No, people are still going to disrespect it. But again, it's that ADV, and I mean, West Side Discs, like, Hurts is a dog. Like, I mean, I think he's the 104 in a dynasty startup. And just like that's the thing. Steve's asking us, like, he chose, in my mind, he chose 3 of the top 4 dynasty assets. So we're going to be disrespecting one of them. Like, these are all pieces you should build around. We just talked about in this trade of the week that's on the bottom of the screen. I'll easily take Jalen Hurts and Higgins for Josh Allen. Easy. All day. But can't go on all day. We do have to end the episode. So that's thank you for joining us here on another episode of Dynasty Six Pack. I'm Kyle Senra at Senra Says. Rahul's at Small Talk FF. Jamie's at Jamie Perog. So you can reach us on Twitter if you want to ask us any questions. If you want to have your trade featured as the trade of the week, you can reach out. You can also you can do what Reed just did and show up live, and we'll interact, and we'll definitely answer all the questions about your trade. So appreciate Reed for that. Appreciate Steve for showing up as well, asking the FMK question. Any final parting words, guys?
Great episode yet again. And
Right.
Bye, Brandon Ayuk. No, yeah, those were not my final words. Bye, Brandon Ayuk. Generational buying opportunity.
Jamie,
That's all.
any wise
Yeah,
words?
I just want to say, so whether you're a first-year wideout trying to read a blitz or like a baby ape dodging crocodiles to save your dad, like, the journey is the same. You got raw talent. It meets wild obstacles. We're going to be putting them into our lineups going forward. These NFL rookies fight to earn the respect in the stadium. So let's get it. Donkey Kong Jr. fought to earn his own respect in the arcades. Let's get it.
Nothing better to say than that, other than thank you, everyone, for watching another episode of the Dynasty Six Pack. See you next week.